Let's talk about great sex, and I'm going to share with you 5 things that will blow your mind. Now, the following videos for anyone who's desirous of lovemaking, somebody who's most likely a demisexual. If you're not familiar with what a demisexual is, I highly recommend writing it down and Googling it, but I'll just kind of give you my version of it. And it's a person who connects sexually through their heart, through their experience beyond the physical, beyond the performative, beyond the ejaculation or orgasm. Now, before I get into this, I want to be very upfront because sex for me has always been what can I get instead of what can I give? Now, many of you who have been following me know I'm in a significant relationship and I find myself experiencing something I've never really experienced before is a genuine heart connection with someone where I feel like we're both on the same page. And this includes physical intimacy. Now, most people oftentimes operate, as I said earlier, what can I get? Can I get the orgasm? Can I get the pleasure? Am I performing for another human being? Now, I know many of you might not feel that way, but many people operate that way. So I want to share with you 5 things I've learned through my experience that might enhance your sexual desires, lovemaking, however it resonates for you. And my hope is this can make a genuine difference in your life. Now, I want to be radically upfront. I'm reading from some notes that are right there. So if you see my eyes looking down, it's because I just created some bullet points to prepare for this. But the first thing that I think is considered great sex and is mind-blowing is connection before penetration. Connection before penetration. Great sex begins before the bedroom. Now, I know many of you know this. I know many of you are going, of course, duh, Jonathan. But through laughter, presence, curiosity, and emotional safety. When a man or woman feels truly seen and appreciated and accepted, their body relaxes, their heart opens. That's when real intimacy begins. So I want to repeat this again. Connection before penetration. And I said to you, laughter, presence, curiosity. Really sit with those words for a second. Laughter, presence, curiosity. Why is it something? I remember growing up watching James Bond, and it seemed like lovemaking was this quiet, seductive kind of experience. But I'm going to tell you something. When we can approach it with laughter, when we can approach it with presence, what is presence? Presence is being present in the moment, not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future, being present and also curious. Not just from a mind game perspective, but curious about someone's body, curious about what really turns them on, and even asking your partner what turns them on. Why do we have so much, reservation when it comes to physical intimacy, as if it's supposed to be perfect right from the very beginning? It takes time to get to know someone's body. It takes time to get to know someone's heart. So come from a place of curiosity. And as I said before, and this is so critically important, is come from a place of presence. By the way, for the men watching, I can't begin to tell you what a turn on it is for a woman when a man is genuinely present. He's not actually looking about the penetration. He's not focused on ejaculating. That's for the men listening. And for you ladies, listen, I recognize you have a laundry list of things that probably needed to get done before you're even ready to be in the bedroom. But let that go. Let those lists go, because when 2 people are physically intimate, it's their time to connect to something beyond themselves. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment as well. So number 2. Devotion, not performance. Devotion, not performance. Can someone write this down? When 2 lovers drop the goal of orgasm and choose devotion instead, sex becomes an act of worship. Each touch, each breath, each sound becomes a prayer of appreciation for the divine in one another, dedicated to each other's pleasure. It's one of the things my beloved said to me. She said, I appreciate that you are dedicated to my pleasure. See, a physical, listen, talk about sex, but I'm going to frame it as lovemaking. Genuine lovemaking certainly is about the pleasure of it all, but there's something divine about giving pleasure to your partner, to be dedicated to their pleasure. But when two people are doing this, now I recognize many of you might have found yourself in a relationship with someone who is a taker, somebody who only cares about their own pleasure. And I recognize that's challenging to be in those kind of relationships, whether you're a man or woman. This is why, coming back to number one, connection before penetration. When couples spend time in a truly heart-centered way, and it starts by just being present and gazing into each other's eyes, that's dedicated to each other's pleasure. By exploring each other's bodies with light touch, that's dedicated to each other's pleasure. Write that down, dedicated to each other's pleasure. In fact, why not have a conversation about that? What is it like to be dedicated to the other person's pleasure? It's one of my favorite phrases my sweetheart said to me. And I can't tell you how much that genuinely touches my heart. It opens me up. It blows my mind. And I hope, whether you're a man or woman, let me ask you something. When someone is truly dedicated from a place of wanting to give, not from a place of receiving, isn't that what this is all about? Isn't that physical connection all about being in service to each other? Isn't that why we're in relationship? Is it about what we can get or what we can give? So number two was devotion, not performance. Okay, number three, energy exchange, energy exchange. Sex is an energetic conversation. The more open your heart, the deeper the flow. A spiritually awake man or woman tunes into their partner's energy, noticing when she's open, whether he's open, whether they're guarded, whether they're playful, whether they're tender, and meets there in reverence and meets in that space of reverence. It's an energy exchange. Remember I shared with you earlier about demisexual? Has anyone experienced a genuine energetic connection? You know, something I experienced, and maybe you felt this way too. I've experienced something that when physically intimate with my partner, there's like I'm connecting to something beyond myself. And most importantly, it feels safe. It feels like home. Have you ever felt that way? What does home represent? Home represents comfort, safety, a place you know really well, that energy exchange. And that's what happens when you're physically intimate with someone, whether you're giving oral pleasure, whether it's penetration, you are connecting your bodies to something greater. 1 + 1 = 11. It's something greater than yourselves. And that energy exchange becomes something that you can feed off of. Let me ask you something. As you're listening to me right now, does this resonate with you? Have you experienced this in your life? See, I think we only experience these types of this type of heart-centered connection with someone who's genuinely our true love. I've often said I'm looking for a heart on to go with my hard on. And I think that really only happens. You can have great sex with someone. There's no doubt with anybody. But mind-blowing, heart-centered sex, I think it happens when you're genuinely in love with a person. And that energy exchange is an exchange of love between the two of you, that frequency of love. Do you know that frequency of love? It's like harmony. It's like a tuning fork. You can tap it and you can just hear the vibration. It's like taking a crystal glass and running your finger around the rim. You hear it and it vibrates at such a level. And when two people are in harmony, exchange their energy together, like I said, it can be mind-blowing and something really off the charts. Now, I talked about this before, but number 4, presence over technique. Presence over technique. The best lovers aren't the most skilled. They're the most present. Breath, eye contact, and stillness can transmit more pleasure than the physical act. It's about feeling, not performing. Let me repeat that. The best lovers aren't necessarily the most skilled, but they're the most present. Their breath is in unison. They have eye contact with one another that can blow your mind. And the stillness, just the quiet stillness, can transmit more pleasure than just the physical act. Let me ask you something. Have you experienced that? It's such attuned presence with another human being, and not even speaking. You know, oftentimes words gets us in our head. It gets us out of our head, gets us out of our body into our head. And that presence over the performative techniques, as I said before, breath, eye contact, and stillness really can transmit this experience to something at a mind-blowing level. Have you experienced that? I'd like to hear about it. And lastly, number 5, union beyond the body. Union beyond the body. Spiritual sex is a merging of souls, not just bodies. When both partners surrender ego and drop into pure being, pleasure expands into love, and love becomes communion. Folks, I'm talking about this because I'm experiencing something I've never experienced before: genuine, heart-centered connection with another human being. It's almost as if we're entangled with one another, and that gets amplified when we're physically intimate. Our bodies just seem to morph with one another. And I don't think I could experience this if I wasn't in a space to be prepared to go all in with someone. See, when we're acting from fear, when we're acting from doubt, when we're acting from past hurts, or worse, when we're acting from fantasy, oftentimes it blocks our heart to love. Let me repeat that. When operating from fear, when operating from past hurts, when operating from the fantasy, it can block our hearts to love. Many of you follow me know, listen, you could probably go back to some of my old videos and tell my past hurts. You can tell when I was in fear, and you can certainly tell when I was in fantasy. In fact, when I work with clients, I can see it all the time: their fear, their past hurts, or their fantasy. Now, oftentimes the fantasy has been predicated or been amplified by what we've been taught. We've been taught that like real connection is about attraction, entertaining one another, romance, and physical connection. We call this chemistry. We've been so indoctrinated to believe chemistry equals relationship success from that pure, instantaneous feeling. By the way, did you know chemistry is something that can build over time? You can have intellectual chemistry with someone that can go off the charts. You can have emotional chemistry with someone that can be off the charts. You can have what I call creative chemistry with someone. Creative chemistry are those people that have a creative flair to them, particularly people that have humor, have a humorous side to them. There's just something sexy about humor. Beyond the biological chemistry, beyond the sexual chemistry, there's even spiritual chemistry out there. See, we seem to hyper focus on that sexual, physical attraction in the beginning, when you can actually build something mind-blowing with one another when you operate from a place of presence, from a place of where the fear, past hurts, and fantasy is so far beyond your desire, your capacity, and your vision for a relationship. There's something, now I have a clear-cut vision of what I want in relationship, when without that vision, without that North Star, how can we ever dive into something? Sure, we can experience hookups. We can experience friends with benefits. We can experience casual relationships. And the vast majority of humans find themselves, situationships, and the vast majority of humans find themselves in a casual relationship. Yeah, you're experiencing companionship, you're experiencing connection, you're experiencing even sex, but without the deep commitment. And how do we get to deep commitment? We actually have to get to know another human being from a heart-centered level. This is why I highly recommend reading the book Can't recommend this enough. If the Buddha dated, by the way, all the books I recommend are listed below. If the Buddha dated, this is a great book to amplify what great sex is, mind-blowing sex, when you can learn how to dive into your heart and throw out the performative gender rhetoric and say, how can we really design a relationship that is mind-blowing for the two of us? But it starts with a commitment to commitment. Can someone write that down? It starts with commitment to commitment. But I know you ladies have been told, just sit back in your feminine energy and let men lead, because men are so good at this process. Men are rather clueless, ladies. A lot of men are just winging it. This is why it takes deeper conversation right from the very beginning. I want to share, you want to know something? Before my partner and I were physically intimate, I think we amassed 55 hours of variety of different phone calls, getting to know each other at a granular level, asking those deeper questions beyond the surface, beyond the, how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. We shared about our past hurts and our pains. We got a sense of how much personal development we've done in each other's lives, or in our individual lives, how much self-help therapy, and got a sense of each other's self-worth from a perspective of self-love. And don't forget about my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. If you want to have a mind-blowing relationship with someone, it's time to do the inner work well before. And by the way, we never finish this inner work, but what I was about to say, well before, do the inner work so you can be prepared where your desire, your capacity, and your vision for a relationship is above the fear, the pain, the past hurts, and the fantasy many of us are operating from. So just to recap what great sex is, these 5 mind-blowing things: connection before penetration. Great sex begins well before getting into the bedroom or the back of a car. Devotion, not performance. Can someone write this down? Dedicated to each other's pleasure. Devotion, not performance. Number 3, energy exchange. There is this magical energy exchange happens when 2 hearts connect. Presence over technique. Being present. Breath, eye contact, and stillness. If you can maintain that for minutes upon minutes upon minutes, you're going to experience something absolutely mind-blowing. And lastly, union beyond the body. Spiritual sex is a merging of souls, not just bodies. Both partners surrender their ego and drop into pure being. Pleasure expands into love, and love becomes communion. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Check out my group. Check out all the books I recommend in the show notes below. All right, those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, write the word question in the chat box and then post your question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a little $sign in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. That's him right there with his brother, Colin. He's my son who passed away over 7 years ago. And as honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. And our goal tonight is $50. I'd appreciate some love for Connor Asley. A little $sign in the chat box. All right, let's see what we've got here. All right. Roller Girl just wants to remind us, devotion, not performance. Exactly. Roller Girl also wants to remind us, dedicated to your lover's pleasure. One of my favorite things my sweetheart says. By the way, if anyone wants to join the love seat, I just posted a link as well. You can join me live and on camera. Hey, Rhonda's in the house. All right, let's see what we got here. Debbie's in the house. Jonathan, you've done a lot of work on yourself. I couldn't be happier. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Maria's in the house. Good content. Yes, I've experienced a very nice, intimate bond, but it's not genuine on his part. He walked away after 1 year. Was I imagining a bond after all? Well, here's the thing. Certainly what you experienced, Maria, is what you experienced. Now, is it possible you weren't on the same page as him? It's absolutely possible. And let me just say, if it's not right for one person, it's not right for two, right? So here's the thing. You experienced a 1-year relationship. Ask yourself, what positive things about myself did I learn in this experience? How have I healed from this experience? What was good in this experience? What was not so good in this experience? And what am I most grateful for? Maybe the two of you weren't in love, like true love. I'm talking about two people genuinely heart-centered on the same page, a good frequency between. Maybe you gave love to this person and he wasn't capable of it. Maybe his fear, his past hurts, or his fantasy exceeded his capacity, but that doesn't undervalue your experience. What is a bond? By the way, bonds can be broken. And keep in mind, sometimes relationships are a portal into our next evolution of ourselves. So maybe he was preparing you for the next relationship in your life, Maria. So thank you so much for that comment. We really appreciate it. All right, Victoria's in the house. Question. My new partner likes certain things in bed, such as oral BDSM stuff, but he never reciprocates when I say I also want certain things. It's not my style. Why does he do that? Well, I'm sorry to hear this. He sounds like a selfish motherfucker. I'm sorry, I'm going to say that. It's interesting. He seems to only care about his own pleasure. And he expects pleasure from you. By the way, let me ask you something. Is this person a generous person outside of the bedroom? Does he genuinely care about your inner world? Does he care about your life? Does he care about you, your family, your friends? Does he care? Because it sounds like this guy's a selfish bastard. I don't know if I'd want to. Oh, wait, you go on to say. In addition, overall sex feel mechanical and always the same. Seems like he isn't present and emotionally connected and only cares about performance. Is this sign of unavailability? Yeah, I would say this guy is emotionally constipated, an emotionally zombie. He's probably only cares about himself. That doesn't make him necessarily narcissistic, but it makes him what most humans are, is very myopic. He's probably not partnership based. He probably only wants a transactional relationship. And I'm here to talk about all in life partnership based relationships. So Victoria, let me know your thoughts on that and we can talk about this a little bit more. Hey, look at Debbie's in the house and she just gave us a $20 super sticker for Connor. Thank you so much. Victoria has come back and said, and when I addressed it gently, he felt attacked and said, I am who I am. You're not accepting me. I'm feeling hopeless now. Thoughts we were having something special. By the way, if this person is selfish, do you really want to be in relationship with him? Please tell me, do you want to be okay, here's a question, Victoria. Do you want to be in relationship with a man who's selfish? Because that's what I'm perceiving based on what you're sharing. He doesn't sound like he's much of a giver. And it sounds like he just expects from you. So is he really partnership material? I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts on that. So thank you so much. By the way, if you have a question, write the word question and post the question there after. Or as I said before, you can purchase a super sticker, super chat, just like Debbie did. Debbie wants to point out he sounds very selfish. Roller Girl says, yes, I said selfish out loud. Roller Girl also come back, selfish, narcissist. You said it. Here's the thing about narcissism. Look at genuinely diagnosed narcissism is a small percentage of the population. That doesn't mean that we don't have a population of myopic, self-centric people. Sadly, there's a lot of wounded human beings out on the planet right now that they need you to love them so they can feel good about themselves. I was one of those people. I needed someone to love me so I could feel good about myself. And until someone, I believe, does the inner work to heal childhood wounds and adult traumas, it's going to be problematic in their life. And in this particular case, Victoria, it just sounds like he's a selfish person who really only cares about his own needs. By the way, when I was talking about what men consider great sex, 5 mind-blowing things, I went into this because I wanted to invite in what it's like to be in a spiritual union with someone. At least that's what I feel like I'm experiencing, because we operate from a heart-centered place. What does that mean? We share our feelings to one another habitually. By the way, to be the fly in the room with us, oh my God, we can Sunday morning, 8 a.m. coffee, we can go straight till the end of the day, going down nooks and crannies about how we feel, not about each other, but how we feel within our own presence. By the way, Rhonda points out, could this be an avoidant? By the way, for those that are not familiar with the book, Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, I highly recommend learning about this. So an avoidant is someone who, this is, okay. So for those really quickly, love attachment style, insecure, secure attachment style. Insecure is represented by anxious and avoidance. Usually avoidance had such a traumatic experience in childhood that they avoid intimacy. They also tend to be emotionally, as I said, constipated. They struggle speaking from an emotional perspective. So it's very possible, Rhonda, that what Victoria was talking about with respects to him is avoidant, but who really cares? He's an avoidant. But bottom line is this: if from the early stages, all he expected was you to perform for him, that sounds like a one-sided relationship. And I wouldn't want to be in a one-sided relationship. Okay? That's my suggestion anyway. Roller Girl points out that 1 in 10 people are narcs. I'm assuming you meant narcissist. Is it 10%? I mean, I've heard it's less than 10% of the population. I think every human has some narcissistic traits to some degree. But here's the thing. I bet this, Victoria, I bet he demonstrated this all very early on. And my question for you is, why do you want to stay with this person? Why do you want to stay with this person? What are you gaining by staying with this person? Do you guys talk about a future together? Is this a transactional relationship where you possibly could be dependent upon him? Transactional usually are dependent relationships where one person is dependent upon the other, usually from a financial perspective. Roller Girl wants to point out that narcissism is on a spectrum. Yeah, you know, if I took the test for narcissistic, I mean, I've checked all the boxes in some way, shape, or form. Now, the one thing is I know how to apologize. I know how to take ownership. Usually narcissists don't do that. I don't walk past a mirror and look at myself all day long like some narcissists do. But I can be myopic. I can be self-centric. I can be selfish at times. I also like to operate like a teammate. And narcissists oftentimes are hyper-focused on their own needs. And like what you shared with us, doesn't sound like he cares about your needs. Hey, is this sinking in? Is this resonating? Hey, post a question. I need some fodder. Otherwise, we're going to have a short conversation tonight. And I'd love to go deeper. What'd you think of this content? Do you have any questions regarding this content? I'd like to hear your thoughts. And let's get off the narcissist train, okay? Roller Girl, ask a question. Rhonda, ask a question. You know, what's interesting about my relationship, I just want to dive into this. You know what's interesting is while we're only 4 months in, we've spent a significant amount of time together. We spend regular time together doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends. We haven't traveled yet, but that is on our list. But we've been there for each other. We spend a significant amount of time in a variety of different circumstances so we can see each other in different I'm going to say circumstances or experiences so we can see how one another reacts. And we even had a little bit of a, not a fight, but a little friction, little sandpaper the other day. And I'm so grateful we got through it with relative ease because I chose to listen and not get defensive. But that's a whole nother conversation. So if you have a question, post a question. It looks like Victoria's jumped in and said, thank you for answering. I don't think I should be staying. He wants to live together through, though, but feels like a closed book to me. I even didn't know that he has a brother and we are 1 year in. Oh my God. I mean, I think we should know about nooks and crannies in our lives, not that they need to be overemphasized, but again, he just sounds like a selfish person in the bedroom. And I'm assuming he's selfish in the balance of your relationship as well, but it's hard to say. I'm only getting limited information here. All right, Roller Girl wants to point out, it's a beautiful thing when intimacy comes together, no pun intended. Comes together, C-U-M-S. Jojo wants to know, what would you compromise on in your relationship? Oh, she follows up. I'm interested in, I'm assuming the man you're interested in has a child, a young child. My child is adult. So what I think you're describing is probably somebody who is actively parenting versus someone like yourself that's beyond the active day in, day out parenting. You know, one thing about love is about accepting a person in their totality. And at the same time, relationships also require lifestyle compatibility. And oftentimes, somebody who is still in active parenting role may not be able to devote enough to somebody who's, let's say, an empty nester, for example. You have to examine that for yourself and ask what's important to you, particularly in the lifestyle you choose to have. And potentially recognizing that you have to take on this person's, family as part of the, part of the agreement when you go all in a relationship. So you have to really sit with that. Would you compromise? Compromise simply means trade-off. I'm willing to trade this for that. You have to answer that question for yourself. Just recognize that I think people that are in midlife, empty nesters tend to get along better because they can devote more time to one another. And I'm talking about those folks that are over 60. I'm assuming you're a little bit younger or he's a little bit younger. So thanks for that question, Jojo. We really appreciate it. All right. If you have a question, write the word question, then post the question thereafter. Or like I said, you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. I'd love to get some questions in before we wrap up. Oops, I just spilled all over my face. So, let's see, what else in my relationship can I share with everyone? As I shared, we had a little bit of friction. One thing she said to me afterwards, she said how much she appreciated my capacity to be present and listen. My old version of me would have gotten defensive. Oftentimes when someone is sharing something that can create friction, it's easy to want to get defensive. What defensiveness means is to defend oneself, to argue our point of view. And while there was only one thing in this conversation that I felt was a little bit off, and I corrected at least the way I observed it, what's most important is allowing someone to share what they feel, acknowledge their feelings, validate their feelings of being true, sharing your feelings, allowing them to acknowledge that, and coming from a place of how can the two of us win? How can the two of us win? And that's how we approached it. And I got through my first real friction with her, other than when I had that road rage, which I totally, man, I was so childish when I had a little bit of road rage. But anyway, all right, listen, looks like we have a bashful group tonight. So I want to thank those that came on live. Thanks so much. I appreciate you. Hope you found value in this conversation. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Oh, wait, we got a question that popped in. Let's keep going. Roller girl question. What are you doing on your next date? Have you gone to the roller rink? It can be fun and romantic. Now, we haven't done that. I'm not sure I want to do roller skating or ice skating just because I don't want to injure myself and end up in the emergency room. But what are we doing? I think we're doing a something civic for our community on the weekend. I believe we're having dinner with some friends. And then what else? I think we've been actually toying it just for fun, apartment house shopping. In other words, we are talking about potentially living together. And right now it's just more like window shopping, if you will. We haven't really decided to pull the trigger in that particular realm, but I think our relationship is going to evolve to living together. Partially because we could save a boatload of dough for two people live in Southern California. It's radically expensive on an individual basis. So why not? But not from that vantage point alone. We just love each other's company. And we've been talking how to build our sovereignty, even within we're living together, like how are we going to carve out time? So one of the things we're going to do is probably spend 2 weeks at each other's homes just so we can get used to that experience before we actually dive into moving together. That's just a suggestion. Highly recommend living in each other's homes for at least 2 weeks at a minimum, preferably a month, just to see how you operate together. And that's something we've been talking about and getting ready to explore. Roller Girl says window shopping together is a good next move. Exactly. In fact, I checked out a condo today, beautiful ocean view. Really liked it, but it's just a little bit old. I mean, it was built in the 70s and wasn't a fan of it. Anyway, all right. Hey, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. Did you find value in this video? Please hit that like button. And if you want to connect with me, check out the links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Barrick of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love. That's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow. Give it or them a hug of love because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. And I want to thank Debbie again for the $20 super sticker. Thanks everyone who jumped in. Victoria, Roller Girl, Jojo. Victoria says, thanks, Jonathan. Love your content. Love seeing you so happy. Thank you for that. I so appreciate it. I want to thank everybody. Oh, Rhonda, who was in the house. And of course, Debbie. Thanks, everyone. Oh, wait, what does Roller Girl say? Really some sexy male seniors out there. Absolutely. A lot of us Goldens are out there. All right. Have a wonderful evening. Be well. Bye now. Bye-bye.